If one flat tire can wreck your month, you don't have a plan. You have hope. And I'm not going to insult you with just budget better. Here's the punchline. Paycheck to paycheck isn't a money problem, it's a system problem. A system with no buffer turns normal life into a recurring emergency. Gas, groceries, rent, a tire, a copay, a kid's field trip, a late fee, a dentist appointment, and suddenly it's a credit card. In the next 25 minutes, you'll get a decision framework you can run in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or 2 minutes. It's built to stop financial freefall without hype, without shame, and without pretending that your life is a spreadsheet. This is not financial advice, it's decision training. Now, let's define the real problem, because most people label the wrong enemy. Paycheck to paycheck usually means 3 mechanical facts. Fact 1, no buffer. You don't have $500 ready for a surprise. You might not have $100 ready for a surprise. Fact 2, fixed cost drag, housing, transport, and minimum debt payments eat most of your take-home pay before you get to make a single decision. Fact 3, volatility. One bad week turns into a multi-month cleanup. Hours get cut. A client pays late. A shift gets cancelled. Someone gets sick. The car breaks, and your system collapses. Notice what's missing from that list: moral judgment. So here's the first why you need to answer quietly to yourself. Why do you think this is a willpower problem? Because if it's willpower, the fix is motivational. It's slogans. It's guilt. It's try harder. And that approach fails because guilt does not create margin. But if it's a system, the fix is structural. Structure creates breathing room, and breathing room changes behavior. If you're working full-time and still stuck, that's not automatically a character flaw. It's math plus friction. Now, if you want a clear definition, here it is. Paycheck to paycheck is when you have no buffer, your fixed costs are heavy, and your plan fails the moment life behaves like life. If your plan only works in perfect conditions, it isn't a plan, it's a fantasy. Let's talk about budgeting, because this is where most advice goes off a cliff. Most budgeting fails for one reason. It treats your money like a spreadsheet, not an operating system. Tracking is a post-mortem. You're analyzing a crime scene after the money is already gone. Here's the reality: money leaves your account by default. Rent gets paid. A car payment gets drafted. Insurance hits. Utilities, auto pay. Minimum debt payments, auto charge. Then you budget what's left, which is usually a small, stressed pile of cash that has to cover food, fuel, and every surprise. So here's the second why. Why are you budgeting after you've already lost the only war that matters? Fixed costs. If fixed costs are too high, budgeting becomes moral theater. You track, you feel disciplined for a week, and then one expense wipes you out again. The system stays fragile. The correct move is not perfect tracking. The correct move is reordering the flow. You want a flow that goes like this. Income arrives, fixed bills get paid, a buffer gets funded. Then variable spending happens, and optional spending is last. That sounds obvious, but most people live the opposite. Income arrives, bills get paid, variable spending happens, optional spending happens, and then they hope a buffer appears by magic. Buffers don't appear. Buffers are designed. Now, let's name the 4 leaks that keep people trapped. I'll be precise. Leak 1, fixed costs. Housing and transport are the big 2. If your rent is high and your car costs are high, your margin disappears before you make a decision. Leak 2, debt interest. Interest is a tax on your future self. It turns temporary shortfalls into permanent monthly payments. Leak 3, volatility. Your income or your expenses have spikes, and the spikes are large relative to your margin. Leak 4, lifestyle creep, not luxury, more like death by subscription, convenience, and small default purchases that feel harmless until they become permanent. And here's the third why. Why do you treat small recurring costs as not a big deal when they are literally a fixed bill in disguise? A $19.99 subscription is not small if you end the month at zero. It's a permanent claim on your next paycheck. So is a daily delivery habit. So is a weekly little treat that is really a coping mechanism for stress. This isn't about never enjoying life. It's about refusing to let defaults own you. Now the big correction, the path out is staged. Most people try to escape paycheck to paycheck by jumping to the last stage first. They chase income, investing, side hustles, and opportunities, while their system is still bleeding. But the path out is staged. Stage 1, stabilize, stop new damage. Stage 2, build buffer, create breathing room. Stage 3, reduce drag, lower fixed costs, and reduce interest. Stage 4, grow, increase income, and invest from stability, not panic. If you skip stages, you relapse, because growth without buffer turns every shock into debt, and debt keeps you trapped. Let's make this concrete with one character. So this doesn't sound like an essay. Meet Jordan. Jordan lives in Phoenix. Jordan works 40 hours a week. Jordan's take-home pay is $3,900 a month. Jordan is not reckless. Jordan pays bills. Jordan avoids obvious scams. Jordan feels fine until the car needs a $680 repair in the middle of the month. Jordan doesn't have $680 sitting in a buffer, so Jordan uses a credit card. Now the minimum payment appears, maybe $45 a month. Next month is tighter. Then groceries go on the card. Then gas. Then the card grows. Then the stress grows. Then the system becomes brittle. Jordan downloads a budgeting app. Jordan tracks expenses for 10 days. Jordan feels hopeful. Then rent hits. The card bill hits, and Jordan is back at the same cliff edge. Jordan thinks, I'm bad with money. But the truth is simpler. Jordan has no buffer. Fixed costs are heavy, and one shock turns into debt. That's the loop. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how do I fix it without a massive income change? Here's the answer. You fix it with staged systems and hard rules. You're going to get a 3-layer checklist. Each layer is a different time cost because real life is busy. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Layer 1 is the 10-second circuit breaker. It stops the bleed. Layer 2 is the 30-second entry filter. It stabilizes cash flow. Layer 3 is the 2-minute deep check. It removes structural draglets. Do layer 1 first, the purpose. The 10-second circuit breaker is not a budget. It is a damage stop. If you are drowning, you don't optimize swimming technique. You stop taking on water. Here are the rules. You need only 3. Rule 1. Freeze new debt for 7 days. No new purchases that you cannot pay in cash this week. That means no new balance carrying purchases. It's not forever. It's 7 days. 7 days creates a break in the spiral. Rule 2. Cancel or pause 1 recurring bill today. 1. Netflix, a gaming subscription, a delivery membership, an app, a cloud storage upgrade, a premium plan you forgot existed. You're not proving virtue, you are buying margin. Rule 3. Create a $100 micro buffer this week. Sell 1 item, work 1 extra shift, reduce spending, any method. If 100 is impossible, do 25. The number matters less than the behavior. Buffer first. And here is the memory line. A plan that needs a perfect month is not a plan. Now, let me pause and argue against my own framing, because it might be wrong. Objection. No, this is an income problem. Sometimes that is true. If you live in San Jose and your rent is $2,400 on a $3,200 take-home paycheck, your math is broken before discipline enters the room. If you are facing medical debt, disability, unsafe housing, or legal judgments, this framework helps, but it cannot replace crisis-level support. So the correction is this. It is usually a system problem, and sometimes the system includes income that is too low for your local reality, But even then, the first step is the same. Stop new damage and build breathing room. Because if you chase income while you are bleeding, you stay in panic. Now layer 2. Layer 2 is the 30-second entry filter. This is what you do on payday and what you do. It is simple, written, and automatic. Because humans do not run on perfect discipline. 3 rules again. Rule 1. Pay the buffer first on payday, automatically. Even if it's $10, automation beats motivation. If you wait to see what's left, there will be nothing left. Rule 2. Separate bills, money from spending money. 2 accounts, 2 envelopes, or 2 debit cards. Bills money is boring and protected. Spending money is limited and visible. Rule 3. Set one weekly. Spend cap number, a single number. Example, $110 for groceries and small extras. From Monday to Sunday, when it's gone, you stop. Not because you're weak, because your system has a boundary. Here is the memory line. You don't rise to intentions. You fall to defaults. Now, let's talk about debt, because debt turns the paycheck to paycheck loop into a long-term cage. Debt is not just a bill. Debt is a behavior amplifier. Here is a concrete example with numbers, because numbers remove excuses. If you carry $5,000 on a credit card at 24% APR, and you pay $200 a month, it can take around 3 years to clear, and you can pay around $2,000 in interest. That is money you will never get back. It doesn't buy rent, food, or peace. It buys time for the lender. So high APR is not a nuisance. It is a fire. If you want out of paycheck to paycheck, you must stop feeding the fire, and then you must put it out. Before we move on, I want to make the system idea feel physical, not abstract. Imagine 2 versions of the same person. Version 1 has 0 buffer. Version 2 has a $500 buffer. Same job, same rent, same car. A surprise shows up on a Tuesday, a cracked windshield, a prescription refill, or a school fee of $140. With 0 buffer, that expense becomes a decision crisis. You hesitate, you delay, you swipe a card, you feel stress. Then you compensate later by cutting food, skipping sleep, or working extra hours in panic. The expense spreads through your week like smoke. With a $500 buffer, the same expense is annoying, but it stays contained. You pay it. You move on. You don't create debt. You don't create a late fee. You don't create a new minimum payment. That is why breathing room comes before optimization. Now, let's address the most common trap people fall into when they hear buffer. They say, I can't save. I'm barely surviving. So the correct move is not to save more. The correct move is to create a micro buffer by forcing one temporary change. Concrete options. You sell one item you already own, a spare phone, an old tablet, a bike, a gaming console, a chair you never use. You take one extra shift, one weekend delivery block, or one freelance task, and you route that entire amount to the buffer. You negotiate one bill, call your internet provider, and ask for a lower plan. If you can save $20 a month, that is $240 a year. That is almost half your micro buffer. You lower one variable cost for 1 week. No restaurant meals for 7 days. No delivery for 7 days. No rideshare for 7 days. Not as a new identity, as a 1-week experiment to buy margin. The message is simple. Your first buffer dollar is not savings. It is an emergency brake. Now, we need to talk about volatility. Because volatility is why people relapse. If your income changes month to month, or your expenses spike, you must design for your worst month. Here is a practical rule I want you to borrow. The 1 bad day rule. Assume 1 bad day every month. Not emotionally bad, financially bad. A day when you spend $100 to $300 more than planned, or you earn $100 to $300 less than planned. If 1 bad day breaks your month, your system is too tight. So you need a buffer target and a spending boundary that makes one bad day survivable. This is also why a weekly spend cap matters more than a monthly budget for many people. Monthly budget is too far away. It turns into rationalization. A weekly cap gives you fast feedback. It gives you a clear stop line. Now, here is another rule that sounds small, but changes behavior. The cool down rule. If you feel urgency, revenge, or FOMO around spending, you wait 24 hours. Urgency is usually a signal that your system is stressed, not a signal that the purchase is wise. Now, let's make the two-bucket idea concrete, because people hear it and still keep mixing money. Bucket 1 is bills. It is the money that must exist on the 1st of the month, or on the 15th, or on whatever date your rent, utilities, insurance, and minimum payments hit. Bucket 2 is spending. It is groceries, gas, and everything flexible. If you mix the buckets, you will always feel confused. Bills will steal from food, and food will steal from bills, and you will never know what is true. So do the simplest version, open a second account, even if it's free, or use envelopes, or use 2 debit cards. When your paycheck arrives, you move bills money to the bills bucket. Then you leave it alone. Now you can look at your spending bucket and know what you actually have. This reduces stress because it turns guessing into a number. Now, if you want a tiny detail that makes this work, here it is. Some people hear boundaries and feel deprived. They want freedom. But no, boundaries isn't freedom. It's exposure. A weekly cap is a guardrail that keeps tomorrow intact. Think of it like seatbelts. You can still drive, but you won't fly through the windshield when life hits hard. Real freedom is options next month. Paying down high APR debt buys future flexibility. Now layer 3. Layer 3 is the 2-minute deep check. This is for meaningful money and meaningful decisions. This is not daily. This is monthly or quarterly. This is where you change the next 12 months. 3 rules again. Rule 1. Fixed cost audit. Compute housing plus transport plus minimum debt payments. If that total is above 60% of take-home pay, you are in a high-risk zone. Your buffer will struggle until that number drops. That does not mean you failed. It means your system is heavy. Rule 2. Debt plan. Choose one method and automate extra payments. Either highest APR first or smallest balance first. But choose one, and set autopay above the minimum. If you only pay the minimum, you are renting time at a brutal rate. Rule 3. Volatility plan. Name your top 2 income risks and design one backup. If hours can be cut, what is your second shift option? If clients pay late, what bill can you renegotiate? What buffer target do you need, or what temporary gig can cover gaps? You are designing for your worst month, not your best month. Here is the memory line. Stability beats brilliance when you're rebuilding. Now, bring Jordan back. Jordan runs layer 1. Jordan freezes new debt for 7 days. Jordan cancels one subscription. Jordan sells an old speaker and builds a $100 buffer. That buffer does not make Jordan rich. It makes Jordan less fragile. Jordan runs layer 2 on payday. Jordan sets an automatic $10 transfer to a buffer account. Jordan separates bills money from spending money. Jordan sets a weekly spend cap. Jordan runs layer 3. Jordan calculates fixed costs and realizes they are 68%. Jordan makes a structural decision: reduce transport costs by selling a car and buying a cheaper used vehicle, or refinancing, or moving closer to work, or changing insurance. The method differs, but the goal is the same: reduce drag. Jordan chooses a debt method and automates extra payments. Jordan doesn't become perfect. Jordan becomes stable. And stability is the first real win. Now, let's handle the psychological trap that keeps people stuck. The shame loop. When you live paycheck to paycheck, your brain is overloaded. Every small decision feels like a crisis. That produces fatigue, and fatigue produces convenient spending, and convenient spending produces more shame. Then you seek relief. Then you repeat. This is why try harder fails. The goal is not to become a saint. The goal is to reduce the number of decisions you must win. That is why we use automation, separation, and boundaries. A buffer is not just money. A buffer is reduced cognitive load. Now, let's talk about fixed costs again, because this is where the escape velocity lives. People often say, I can't cut rent, or I can't change my car, or I can't reduce fixed costs. Sometimes they are right in the short term, but you still need to treat fixed costs as a project, not a personality trait. Here's a simple way to think about it. If your fixed costs are heavy, then your future raises will disappear. Your system will absorb them. That's why people can get a raise and still feel broke. So the target is not spend less. The target is reduce fixed drag and create margin. Margin is what allows choices. Without margin, you do not make choices. You react. Now, a quick check. If your rent is $1,800 and your take-home is $3,600, that's 50%. If your car payment and insurance and gas are another $700, you are already at 70%. Add debt minimums, and your system is tight. In that situation, the correct plan is not to micromanage coffee. The correct plan is to attack the big rocks: housing, transport, and interest. That might mean roommates for 6 months. It might mean a cheaper neighborhood. It might mean a different commute. It might mean selling a car and using a smaller one. It might mean negotiating insurance. It might mean refinancing. It might mean temporarily reducing ego costs. Now, let's define ego costs, because this matters. Ego costs are expenses you pay to maintain an image, not to maintain a life. If you are paycheck to paycheck, ego costs are not treats, they are anchors. But I'm not saying never spend on joy. I'm saying don't spend on status while you are fragile, because fragility is expensive. Now, I want to give you a simple test you can run in real time, in a parking lot, before you buy something. Here it is. If you buy this, will your buffer grow this month or shrink? If it shrinks, you are buying short-term relief at the cost of long-term stability. If your buffer is zero, that trade is brutal. What if I already cut everything and I'm still stuck? Then you're at the boundary. The system cannot be stabilized by trimming. It must be stabilized by changing inputs or reducing the largest fixed cost. That can mean income increases, but not fantasy increases. Real increases over time. A second job temporarily, a certification that raises hourly pay, a job change, a roommate, a relocation, or a negotiated reduction of debt payments. The point is, if you're stuck after trimming, you need structural changes, not more self-criticism. Now, let's do a short recap so you can remember this tomorrow, not just right now. Layer 1, 10 seconds, stop new damage, freeze new debt for 7 days, cancel one recurring bill today, build a micro buffer this week. Layer 2, 30 seconds, stabilize cash flow. Buffer first on payday, automated, separate bills, money from spending money. Set a weekly spend cap. Layer 3, 2 minutes, remove structural drag. Fixed cost audit, debt plan with automation. Volatility plan with a backup. If you do only one thing, do the first thing. Stop new damage and build a tiny buffer. A tiny buffer changes behavior more than motivation does. Now boundary matters, and I'll be direct. This framework stabilizes cash flow. It does not replace professional help in situations like imminent eviction, unsafe housing, medical crisis, disability paperwork, predatory debt with legal judgments, or domestic safety risks. If you are in one of those situations, your priority is safety and crisis support first. And here is the boundary sentence that matters most. If you cannot verify and control the core parts of your situation, you need outside help, not more discipline. Now, one final point. People ask, how long does this take? It depends. But the first milestone is small. Go from 0, then to 500, then to 1 month of fixed bills. You are building stability in layers. And here's the quiet truth. Once you have even a small buffer, you stop making panic decisions. And when you stop making panic decisions, your finances stop bleeding. That is why buffer first is not a slogan. It's a mechanical lever. Now, here's your practice prompt. Comment one word for your biggest leak: fixed, debt, volatility, or creep. Then write one number, your current buffer amount, 0, 40, 250, 1200, whatever it is. Because this channel isn't about motivation, it's about mechanical upgrades, not financial advice. Decision training. Next episode: the status trap that keeps you broke.